Shadows in the dark. The night sky over New Mexico stretched endlessly, stars glinting like scattered diamonds against a sea of black. In the quiet desert town of Silver Ridge, few noticed the streak of brilliant light slicing through the heavens. Those who did would later describe it as a falling star until it stopped, hovering silently over a distant mesa before vanishing in an instant. That night changed everything. Paul Grayson was closing up the gas station on the outskirts of town when it happened. The light lit up the desert as bright as day, accompanied by an unnatural hum that made the air tremble. It lasted only seconds, but Paul couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him. The next morning, he found the tracks, deep impressions in the dirt leading away from the mesa. They weren't made by any vehicle he knew, nor by anything human. Curiosity got the better of him, and Paul followed the trail into the desert, camera in hand. What he found chilled him to the bone. A metallic craft, half buried in the sand, its surface shimmering like liquid mercury. Strange symbols etched into its hull glowed faintly. But it wasn't just the craft that unnerved him. It was the figure standing beside it. It was humanoid, but not human. Its elongated limbs and bulbous head seemed otherworldly, its skin a translucent gray. When it turned to look at him, Paul bolted, leaving his camera behind. By the time Paul made it back to town, rumors were already spreading. Some had seen the light. Others claimed to have heard whispers in the wind that night. But no one believed Paul when he spoke of the craft and the figure. That is, until the men in black arrived. They came in a sleek black sedan, its surface gleaming under the relentless sun. The townsfolk watched as two men stepped out, both unnervingly identical, wearing tailored black suits, white shirts, and narrow black ties. Their expressions were cold, their movements unnaturally precise. The taller of the two approached Paul at the gas station. His voice was low and flat, devoid of any inflection. "Mr. Grayson," he said, his dark sunglasses reflecting Paul's nervous face. "You saw something last night. You need to tell us everything." Paul hesitated. "Who are you guys? FBI? CIA?" The man tilted his head slightly, as if the question were irrelevant. "We're here to help, but for your safety, you need to stay quiet about what you saw." Paul's stomach churned. "Look, I don't want any trouble. I didn't even get a good look at it." The man leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. "If you value your life, you'll forget it ever happened." Paul wasn't the only one visited. Across town, others who had seen the light or heard strange sounds were approached by the men in black. Some were interrogated, others were simply warned. But what unsettled the townsfolk the most was how the men seemed to know everything. Who had seen what, where they had been, even the thoughts they hadn't spoken aloud. Then, people started disappearing. The first was Sarah Carter, a local waitress who had confided in a friend about seeing something strange in the sky. She vanished without a trace, her apartment left untouched, her car still parked outside. Next was Old Man Jenkins, the town's self-proclaimed conspiracy theorist. He'd been ranting about aliens and government cover-ups for years, but after the incident, his ramblings became oddly specific. He claimed to have seen the men in black enter the desert with strange equipment. Days later, his house burned to the ground, and Jenkins was never seen again. The remaining witnesses grew paranoid. Paul stopped leaving his house, drawing the curtains and keeping the lights off at night. But it didn't matter. The men in black always knew. One night, Paul woke to the sound of his front door creaking open. Heart pounding, he grabbed the baseball bat he kept by his bed and crept into the living room. They were waiting for him, two figures in black, their faces eerily blank. "Mr. Grayson," the taller one said, "we warned you to stay quiet." Paul tightened his grip on the bat. "I haven't said anything." The shorter man stepped forward. "Your silence is appreciated, but your knowledge is dangerous. We can't take any risks." Paul's eyes darted to the window. "You're not taking me." The taller man tilted his head again, almost mechanically. "This is not a negotiation." Paul's scream was the last sound anyone in Silver Ridge heard from him. The next morning, his house was empty, his truck still in the driveway. The men in black left town the following day, their black sedan kicking up dust as it disappeared down the highway. The townsfolk tried to forget, tried to convince themselves that nothing had happened. But late at night, when the desert winds howled and the stars seemed too close, they remembered. They remembered the light, the figures, and the men in suits who erased the truth. Silver Ridge became just another forgotten dot on the map, its secrets buried in the sand. But Paul's story didn't die, not completely. It lived on in whispers, in the uneasy glances of those who had seen too much. And somewhere, in a dark, windowless room, the men in black filed their final report. Another cover-up complete, another secret safe. For now.